Kia ora. Welcome to Analyst Point of View. I am Maddie Pont, and we've decided to create this podcast to educate people within the sports industry about performance analysis, what it is, and what analysts do behind the scenes. Over the series, we'll get together guests who have experience within performance analysis to share stories, experiences, visions, and in hope to grow the understanding of the sports analysis world. A little bit about myself before we get into things. I grew up in the Otago, which is Ranfurly, on a farm, and I went to Otago Area School for my 13 years of schooling. I've always been really passionate about sport, hence the fact I came to Dunedin and am studying a Bachelor of Applied Science at the Sports Institute. Currently in my third year, and I'm extremely excited about this podcast and the opportunities that I'm fortunate enough to have. So here with me today, I've got Tim and Mike. Tim Horton is the current Otago Vaults analyst, and Michael Quigley, full name, is a high performance analysis in cricket. Is that how you would describe that?
Yeah,
awesome.
High performance analyst at New Zealand cricket.
Awesome. So we'll start with Tim.
Cool.
Do you want to tell us a little bit about yourself?
Sure. So I went to Otago Boys and then ended up going to Otago University and studied sport and exercise science. Cricket's been my passion probably since 6 or 7 when I started playing. Played right through high school. And then I actually got injured in my last year of high school, and that's where I kind of fell into analysis because I couldn't really play in that following year going to university. So ended up talking to Adam Miles, and he was the coach of Otago A at the time, and said, hey, look, can I do some kind of analysis because I want to still be involved in cricket at a higher level. And then one thing led to another. I got a job at New Zealand Cricket, got a job then with the Vaults now last year, so it was just kind of right place, right time. Graduated a couple of years ago with my degree, and then here we are today, 1 year in with the Vaults job.
So taking a step back, your first year, so how did you get into analysis? Like how did you discover it?
I can't quite remember how I quite discovered it. I think I knew it was a thing, but I didn't really know what it was or how to get involved. And so just talking to Adam Miles, that random conversation I had, we got talking about it, started doing that work, going to trainings, learning about data, video analysis, all that kind of stuff.
So that was your first.
Yeah, and then obviously university has papers, and talking with Pete Lamb, who's a lecturer there, I got a good relationship with. He was the performance analyst lecturer at the uni, and that's when I thought, after my first year, analysis is the route I want to go down. And then I was just lucky with the opportunities with cricket, and that's kind of how I've got a passion now for analysis as well, so it's pretty cool.
Awesome. And so you've just not long ago finished your season with the Otago Vaults?
Yeah, so it was my first season, best season we've had for a while. We got first equal in the T20, so I'm not saying that was my coming on board or anything, but the Vaults had the best season they've had for a while, so that was pretty cool to be a part of.
Yep.
And hopefully we can continue that going into the next season.
Yeah, so you're planning on
sticking
around?
Sticking around, yeah. I've had a good start and there's more I want to achieve. It was all pretty new to me still. I was trying to pretend like I was, pretty experienced and got 5 years of experience, but truth is I don't, and I'm still learning. But the guys were great and learnt lots every day. You're working with high-performance athletes, which is pretty cool. Not many people get to work in high-performance sport, so you take those opportunities when you get them.
Yeah. So in that environment, what does your typical, we'll start with your week, I suppose, look like with them?
So we usually have 2 or 3 trainings a week. So I'll go to those trainings. We'll have usually kind of a team debrief. I may have some info to share in that from the previous game or whatever. And then we'll have trainings out in the nets out here. We'll do video analysis. And then we'll talk about scouting, so the upcoming opposition, who we're playing, talk with the coach, like who we're targeting, bowlers, batsmen, what's their predicted lineup, who are our best players to play. And then I'll go away, do some scouting on the laptop, watching video, collecting data, preparing a report, just working with the coach and players. So that's kind of what my given week looks like. And then leading up to a game, I actually have a separate job where I'm contracted to New Zealand Cricket, and I sit up here in this room and code all the games. So I code all the Vaults home games. So that's separate to the Vaults role, which I'm sure we'll discuss because it's quite complicated. But so I get to code all the home games up here, and then using all that data, I can then do post-match reports and feed that back to the players post-game, and then the cycle starts again in the next week for the next game.
Yeah.
So it's pretty busy.
Yes, full on. When I suppose we're talking about coding, cricket, I don't know too much about cricket.
Yeah.
What kind of stuff are you pulling and coding from that game?
Yeah, so we've kind of got seven or eight boxes on our coding window.
Yep.
So it starts with the pitch map, and then so that's where the ball lands on the pitch, and then the batsman's what shot they play. So that could be a forward defence, cut shot, whatever. Then there's feet movement, and then there's the contact. So if they middle the ball, if they got an edge, outside edge, inside edge. And then any other events that happen, and then you also do the scoring as well. So that's the runs that happen, 4, 6, 1, 2, and then if there's a wicket, you code that as well. Who caught the ball? Where were they on the field? So you're basically capturing everything that happens every ball. So you get about 8 to 10 clicks. Would you say, Mike, per ball? And then you think if there's 96 overs in a day in a 4-day game times 4 days, that's like 570 odd, and then you're doing that every day. There's thousands of clicks.
Yeah.
So you're collecting a lot of data. We're just button clicking basically. So it's long days doing coding like that, and you're doing a lot of collecting of data. And then obviously the fun stuff is post-match, where you get to analyse the data and use it to inform decision making for future games. Yeah,
so you're live coding?
Yeah, so that's the cool
game?
thing about cricket is we can live code, which is different to rugby and football. Where you can't live code everything, so every ball's got a start-stop, which is pretty cool that we can then code everything live, so we don't have to do too much post-match, which is, saves a bit of time on our end. Yeah,
so for someone like me who, films a game and then I code it afterwards, so my after-match is definitely a lot different to you guys.
Yeah.
Because, you're spending the after-match doing the coding, and then the next day is when you kind of collate everything and provide to the coaches, but so we code it and then you do that after the game is what you do.
Wrap all that information together, and you can get information out the next morning pretty much.
Cool, awesome. Right, Mike, bit about you.
So I'm Dunedin born and bred. Went to King's High School and on to the University of Otago to study PE. Did a little bit of analysis through my studies there. I think in my second year, I had a lecturer called Roger Bartlett. I think he pretty much wrote the book on biomechanics and I guess what was sports analysis then. And then we did one lecture, one lab, one assignment that was what I would say is performance analysis now, or the bit that I work in anyway. And then that was kind of it. Finished my degree and then still had no idea what I wanted to do. Ended up coming to the Polytech and doing a postgrad course here in performance analysis, and got opportunities to take up internships with the Highlanders and work with Otago Rugby and that during my time studying there. And then in the real world, so to speak, just a lot of volunteering, my own time to, I did some work with North Otago Rugby and coded most of their home matches and filmed them for probably like 2 seasons, and tried to build up my CV with experience that was sort of like hands-on stuff, and then eventually got opportunities to work with Manu Samoa. They were looking for an analyst, and
Cool.
I guess I knew the right people or got recommended, and they were pretty keen on me, so got an opportunity with them for about a year. Went away and got to travel with them for a bit, and cricket was kind of like in the background, but it was just very much like a summer thing, pretty much similar to the role that Tim's doing now. So would code matches for them during the season, and then in the winter, so to speak, would help out wherever I could, if they were interested in things. But I was very much like balancing winter sports and summer sports to try and do my analysis, so to speak. And then eventually a full-time role in cricket came around, and I ended up moving to Christchurch to work for New Zealand Cricket full-time, and I'm based at the High Performance Centre there, so everything high performance, with the elite teams, so Black Caps, White Ferns, I guess like under 19s and New Zealand A, all happens there, so
Cool.
Yeah, that's what I'm doing. Yeah.
So let's go back a little bit. Your experience in the rugby industry, and did you work with Otago, like in NPC?
Yes. Yeah.
So did you go Otago and then Highlanders, or was it kind of the same? And what was your role during that time?
So it was actually Highlanders first, and then it was Otago.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's just because the way the seasons or the schedule works. So my role with the Highlanders was just an intern with Andy Watts and Hayden Chapman, and basically it was just training like every day, most of the week, film, code, and just make sure that the training footage is cut up so that coaches can review it and players can review it at the end of the day or throughout the week as they prepare. And then on match days it was just filming basically, and then we would give that to the head analyst, and then they would piece it all together and have the different views to go along with their coding and things like that, so they can review their matches. Yeah.
Cool.
And it was pretty similar for Otago as well. Yeah.
Yeah. So you, as an intern, you were kind of the support, I suppose.
Yeah.
And did all the collecting.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then gave the products to the head analyst, who would then give it to the team.
Yeah. Yeah. Basically, just like learning all the basics and things like that, and day to day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How do you reckon that experience had a big impact on your development and learning, working in that industry?
Yeah, I think so. It's basically like the foundation of what I have now, I suppose, and the things that I did during those internships, like I still have to do today, and in some capacity. And yeah, they've given me a good foundation to keep developing on and things like that along the time as well. So yeah.
Yeah. So now your role in the high performance industry within cricket, what does your typical week? I suppose the cricket season's a bit slow at the moment. Or is it?
Yeah.
Oh no,
it's
high
international.
performance.
Yeah.
International.
Yeah.
Yes.
It does have like its quiet times.
Yeah.
Probably like the end of Easter, around like May, is probably as quiet as it gets.
Yeah.
But yeah, most of it's all year round kind of. The New Zealand summers are definitely the busiest because we've got our own domestic cricket going on at the same time, and then our own international tours and things like that. So yeah, it's quite fast paced in that. Yeah.
Okay, that is. Of course, it's full on. So, what does a typical week look like for you at the moment?
At the moment, it's around like our winter training camps and things. So this past week we've just had our winter squad, or like our development players who basically play for New Zealand A. They're kind of the next tier of players that sit below our Black Caps and White Ferns and they're basically preparing to play overseas shortly. So I think they'll go to Australia and they'll play red ball and white ball cricket in Australia. So it's just about opportunities for them to develop and keep progressing and things like that.
Cool.
Yeah.
I don't know if this is a silly question.
No silly questions.
There's no silly
What's
questions.
red and white ball cricket?
Okay. So red ball cricket is like first class cricket. It's test matches and Plunket Shield for our domestic men's players.
4 and 5 days.
Over 4 or 5 days.
Golly.
White ball is our one day cricket and our T20 cricket.
Right.
Yeah.
Do you go over there with them, or are you based
I'm based in
in Christchurch?
Christchurch. We haven't had like an analyst travel with our teams for a couple of years now, kind of because of COVID.
Yeah.
But also because the technology and the way that our wider analysis system's set up, we can basically do all of our analysis remotely. And as long as our coaches and players have an internet connection, then we can send them everything that they need. So, yeah.
Awesome. So, how much time does that consume for you? Like, you're live coding from Christchurch?
Yes.
Typically, and then
yeah.
provide kind of the similar,
Yeah.
providing those
My-
stats to the.
Yeah, I'd say that my week or game day or something like that is probably quite a bit different to Tim's, just in the sense that like most of our analysis work would get done pre-match or pre-series, pre-tournament, and that's just because we play in a series. For example, we might play one day cricket and we might have like 3 or 4 matches within the space of a week, and then follow into T20s, which would be like even shorter distance between games. So the opportunity to review and train and prepare and things like that is quite limited. So most of it gets done at the start, and then it's just changing like a little couple of things between games if needed, or just what can we learn from our past performance, and how can we take that into the next game.
Do you have an input often on things?
Most of my input would be around the preparation, scouting notes and things like that. So I would just prepare a different series of workbooks essentially for various things. So it could be for venue specific or playing conditions. We might be playing in New Zealand, or we could be playing in the subcontinent somewhere. So really, really different playing conditions. And then past performances in those conditions, and what we might expect to, if we were going to bowl first, a target that we want to reduce them to, or what a typical innings score might be that we can reflect on and things like that. It could be bowler matchups for bowling coaches and things like that, who are good matchups for our bowlers, and vice versa, and those sorts of things.
Cool. So heaps.
So
A lot of
quite a
work
bit.
before it kicks
A lot
off.
of overlap. I'm doing quite a lot of the same stuff he's just talked about there. Week to week, instead of like, because we obviously play a different team each week. We don't have a series, like we don't play Canterbury for 5 games in a row. So my job is turning around data. Like I've got to prepare game after game after game, which is quite challenging sometimes when there's like, especially over Christmas break, when you've got 2 games in a row, like 27th, 28th of December, and you're on holiday as well. Like you're trying to get out information for 2 different teams, but it's still good fun.
You enjoy it?
Yeah, it's awesome. Like, it's really busy and things like that, but like it's a pretty good job. So
Awesome. We were talking about before we started what performance analysis is, because obviously that is what I'm trying to, I suppose, get out there, but it's so hard to explain what it is. But what is performance analysis to you?
Well, as
how would
I
you
said,
explain it?
measuring performance, I think is the best way to describe it, and it's how we measure it, what tools we're using, GPS, coding, video, whatever. That's essentially what it is. And then we're just reporting on it and
Yeah.
giving that back to the coaches and the players, because they may not be aware of a strength or a weakness. And then if we can show that objectively with data, then that's a benefit for them.
Yeah, I'd pretty much say the same thing. I'd just ask them, like, what do you want to know?
Yeah.
And if they can tell me what they want, then it's my job to find that out. And if I have to collect, if it's like match data, look at previous performances and things, or if I have to look at video to find trends and how players play or whatever, then I just, what do you want to know is basically how I answer that.
And I suppose it's that assisting the coach, because
Yeah.
now video, it doesn't lie, does it? And it provides them with another set of eyes and all that next level information, which I think has developed quite greatly in the last while.
I'd say like the big benefit of the like video side of things is it just gives you context to whatever data you're looking at. So like I can produce a report for somebody, for a coach or something like that, or if it's to share with a player, and it can have all the different numbers on it and things like that, and I can say like that's a good number or that's a bad number and whatever, and they're going to be like, okay, so what? Like it's just a number to me. Having video to support what that number means, then that's giving them the real life example, and then they can go, okay, yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah, that's what I'm looking for when someone's bowling to me or whatever. So,
what do you believe the benefits of performance analysis are, whether that be for coaches and players and teams as a collective? Like, how would you explain the benefits?
I would say like the benefit. Well, I would say it's a learning and development tool. It helps you reflect on performances or your perceived strengths and weaknesses and things like that. If you're wanting to develop, if it's cricket, like if it's bowling technique or how you bat and things like that, then you can use video feedback. If it's there's all sorts of things that you can use to help learn and develop players, coaches.
It's improving tactics as well, like game tactics, strategy, because you may not be aware of something, but there's a piece of data that's pretty clear and obvious. And you can't deny it, but player or coach might not be aware of it. So if you can share that, I've always said like it's not going to be not useful if I give you this piece of information. Like you're not going to go, that doesn't help me, throw it away. Like it's useful, and most of the time players, their gut's usually right, and you're just supporting it with data. So that's kind of been the big learning for me this season is some, like especially the older guys, they're not so interested in it. But as I said to them, like your gut's going to be right. Here's the data to back up what you're saying. So
And do you find saying that the older guys, is that meaning the ones who necessarily have not used it and now it's getting pushed to be used more?
Yeah, because I guess it's fairly new in cricket. Like rugby's had it for a bit longer, probably like having analysts on deck, but in cricket it's not really a thing in New Zealand just yet. And I'd say just because I'm younger than those older guys, like they want to trust me. Like what can Tim tell me that I don't already know? Like he's 23, he hasn't played high performance cricket. Like I'm 30, I've had heaps of experience. What can you offer? So it's building relationship and getting them to trust what I'm telling them is true. So that's probably that. Yeah, that's probably the older guys.
And I think that's a big thing for me. I'm the head analyst currently for Dunedin Premier men's team, rugby team, and I think I'm a 20-year-old girl coming in with all these stats and all this. I don't tell them what to do just quite yet.
No, but you will
But
get
I
there.
support the coaches and I provide them with the information. But I sometimes do think they must look at me and be like, she can't tell us that. But it's that other set of eyes, and I suppose that different look on the game.
Yeah, for me, like I would. My role was to help create a discussion between coaches and players and things like that. And if I've got to use data to do that, and they could look at it and be like, oh, it's okay, we're going to trust our gut here and we're going to go a different way, then that's fine. But as long as it's helping create a discussion between coaches and players, then you can put it on them to do what they want to do with it. And if they don't want to use it, then that's fine. But if they do, then happy days.
Yeah. And it's such an awesome resource for them to have the access to. I suppose it's just encouraging them to use it as well.
Yeah.
And I think that's been a big thing for me. I suppose I'm not at a very high level, like I'm at Prem Rugby, but just encouraging using what they've got available to them, because they're quite lucky with Elevate, what Elevate provides to them. And it's just ensuring that they know how to use it as well. Because I think because it's can be so new to some people coming up, it's just about encouraging them to look at the stats and watch the footage and actually do something with that. And I think the coaches of Dunedin are actually really good at like review, preview, and they show the boys, they're like, have you looked at your review, have you done this, and hold them accountable if they don't. And I think that's really good.
Yeah, and if they get to a higher level, they're going to experience it anyway, so they might as well get it. If you're offering it Prem Rugby, that's awesome for those guys, because they're going to see it if they make it to Otago or Highlanders or whatever.
Definitely. Since you both work quite closely, I suppose, with coaches, or have in the past, what have you found that the expectations have been like from coaches towards your roles? Like on a week, what are the expectations from you?
If it's to prepare for like a series or something like that, as long as I get them the reports, like I'm gonna say, like within a week of our first match maybe, or within, like, if they have a training camp, within that training camp, then they've got enough time to digest it and then talk about it with captains and senior players or bowling groups and things like that. But yeah, there isn't too much pressure other than that, and then like whatever happens on a match day, making sure that we have video coded on time and turned around quickly for them. Yeah.
Cool. What has your experience been like working with coaches? It can be good, it can be bad. There's no naming names. It's just, I suppose, as an analyst, sometimes it could be they kind of I don't know how to word this, difficult to understand your position.
I see what you mean. Yeah. So like I've worked luckily with both vaults coaches. Have been analytical and wanted my services.
Yeah.
So I could have easily, both coaches could have gone, nah, I don't want you, and then I would be out of the job, or So I'm very lucky that they supported me.
Yeah.
Both Dion and Rob. So yeah, to answer your question, yeah, they really wanted me, so they've made the most use of me, because you can get used and abused a bit in that analysis. There's a bit of a stereotype that analysts just get, fed work and just working long hours. And that's somewhat true, because that's the job, but I've been pretty lucky that I've had two supportive coaches that really cherished my role and want to keep it going.
Awesome.
Coaches that have like a good understanding of what their coaching philosophy is, if they understand how analysis is going to help them with that philosophy and where it fits in, then like it's so easy, because then they just come to you, they're really clear on what they want and why and how they're going to use it, and then it just makes your job like so much easier.
No, that is good to hear.
Yeah.
I suppose that's that initial communication and setting, I suppose, expectations for the season, what they want and what you want from the experience as well.
Yeah.
And being able to provide that, it's just having that relationship based on trust and communication.
Yeah.
What sort of skill and expertise as an analyst, like if you were saying to someone who's coming into the industry, what are some key, I did ask you this at the start of the year for my assessment actually, some key points that you think they would have to, like skills they would have to be able to have coming into this industry?
I said problem solving, I think.
Yeah.
Problem solving is a big one. There's
did.
always a piece of equipment breaking down, or software. The amount of times I've called Quigs on the phone going, mate, it's not working, can you help? You got to troubleshoot and you got to find solutions. You'll be scaffolding, on scaffolds, you've got to tape stuff down, waterproofing. There's lots of different challenges with filming and coding. Internet might not be good. There's so many issues that can arise, especially in cricket, we've found. So just having solutions and being able to have people on that you can rely on is pretty helpful.
Those connections.
Connections are really important.
Good foundation of like core skills to be able to capture video, basic coding and things like that, understanding how that works, and then being able to have good relationships with the people that you're working with, if it's coaches and players, to understand how you can help them and things like that. And then probably something that I'm finding a lot lately is being able to probably understand analysis like outside of sport. Analysis skills are like quite transferable. So if you have a background in something else, if it's like more data management, data science and things like that, then that can be really helpful in that sport analysis space anyway. If you wanted to add something else to your bio, then that might be a good option as well.
Go study some more things.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, study more. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that's cool. I think that was what I found difficult coming through. Was first year it was kind of like, do you want to do performance analysis? And I was like, what is like, what is it?
Yeah.
And what do I need to do? And I think we were lucky. My first year was the World Rugby Head Impact Study, so that was pretty cool. We did some things with Elevate filming and basic coding and stuff like that. It was real simple, but lucky that we got that opportunity. But I suppose it's just knowing, I would have liked to know your roles like you guys. We didn't really get the chance to talk to people who are working in that level and actually, doing it as a job. I think that was, I just was as I went, figuring things out and what happens. Because you guys are both in cricket, but your roles are so different. And I think it's the same with all sport, like all analysts have such different roles and relationships with their coaches and teams. So it's just really, I love learning what everyone's experiences are, and I think that's something that I want from this, is for people who are like me coming into first year having no clue what it is, even players who are coming into teams with having an analyst and not having much knowledge. So I think it's good to get to understand what is involved and what you're expected to bring to the table, I suppose. And you learn something every day. I'm still learning a lot. And I'm nearly done with my degree.
Having lots of different experiences as well. So if it's different environments or different coaches, different sports, will be like a massive benefit as well, because you'll have all this different experiences that you can learn from and then apply it to whatever you find yourself doing in the present. And then,
I suppose you think
change
it's quite
all the
easy to
time.
get comfy, eh?
Yeah.
I think it's important to note the difference between Polytech's degree and the university degree. So I did the university degree, sport technology, and that's very literature based and not a lot of practical transferable skills out to the real world. Whereas from what I understand, the Polytech degree is a lot more practical. You get a lot more hands-on. You get to go with the Highlanders, the netball. We didn't have any of those experiences. So my experience is quite limited in the fact I've only done cricket. So I'd be nervous a little bit how much I could transfer some of my skills. Obviously, there's a good chunk that would, but the stuff around coding, because our coding software is not sports code or Angles, which is like the typical coding software that's used in rugby and football. So if I was giving any advice, I'd probably say, if you're passionate for performance analysis, I'd probably tend towards going to do the Polytech stuff, just because it's more practical and you can make more connections. Like, I had to really graft the hard way and volunteer so many hours, and it was who I knew at Otago Cricket that got me through the door. But if I didn't have that, I really would have struggled.
I think that's a good suggestion. Obviously, like the university degree, you get a lot from it as well. I just think with the Polytech being, especially with performance analysis, it's so much more beneficial to be doing it. I don't think I could have learnt much, but I think that's coming into first year, being able to do that, but also having the information and the theory to go with it, and kind of the background about what goes on and how it benefits different environments. Throughout your career so far, how have, I suppose we'll start with you, Mike, going through rugby and then to cricket, and now you're at high performance, how have the expectations changed along the way? And if they haven't, that's all good, but have expectations changed on you?
I don't think they've changed too much, to be honest. I mean, like the core role that I do, it's probably still the same, but there's just lots of different, there's lots of other aspects that I kind of do as well now. So it's all dependent on like what your coaches or your players that you're working with, what they want to know, and how you can best answer those questions for them. But the bare bones of it, like it's still, I would say, like it's still the same. I could be wrong. The stuff that you learn at Polytech now could be way different to the stuff that I do or that I've done. But yeah, that's what I've found going through different things. Like you're still expected to provide stuff when they need it and things like that. But yeah.
Well, I'm only in cricket, so I've got limited experience, but probably my expectations haven't really changed either.
I think you probably set your own standards
I was going to say
pretty high as well. Like, I didn't have any experience like at all, and I got chucked into the Highlanders, who won the competition the year before. Like they were pretty well-oiled machine. Everything was pretty slick. It was really fast-paced, and I was like having to learn like on the fly every single day. So I guess like that's all that I knew. So I just assumed that everything else was like that as well. And then when you go into another environment, it's like, okay, it's not quite as intense as what I've just come from. It's a bit more relaxed, or they do things a little bit differently. So you kind of have to like fill the room a little bit and then adapt your style so like it fits there. But if you've still got your own high standards and things like that you want to maintain through whatever you do, like whatever environment it is, then if people see that, then they know that you're like reliable, and that if they need help they can come to you and you're always going to help them and things like that.
I think the standards you set for yourself are really important in this industry, just making sure that you're, I suppose, keeping them to a certain standard, because you can go into so many different expectations from coaches and players, and it's hard to, I suppose.
It's good to get like a bit of perspective as well. So like if I want something done the way to my standard, for example, but I can't do that, and then I have to have a conversation with the coach. They're like, sorry, I haven't done this yet, or I can't get this for you, blah, blah, blah. And then understanding that they're like all good with it and it's not the end of the world, and you're like, oh, okay, all right. No,
that's funny you say that, because I think last year it was just like my first time being with the team, and I was just trying to do everything and anything that I could. I didn't really know what I was doing, and I couldn't actually provide them with that, but I think I had a bit more pressure on myself then than I do. Like I still have really high standards, but I'm a bit more understanding the fact like it's not the end of the world if you can't find that, or you haven't had the time to do that, because especially for me, I'm still studying, and I've got all the other stuff going on, and I think that's a big thing for me, is just being honest. Like, look, I don't think I'm going to be able to get that to you, or I haven't done that yet, rather than being like, oh yeah, and then providing kind of average thing to a coach. I think that's been a big learning thing for me, is just being honest and not overworking yourself, but also pushing yourself and working hard, but being realistic, I think, is a big thing.
I think I've been pretty fortunate since moving into cricket, and like the leaders that I have around me, they're really good at like making sure that you're okay and things like that. So
that's cool.
If you're getting absolutely pumped with matches in the summer and things like that, and you're having to work weekends and then come into the office during the week and things like that. They're really good at making you make time for yourself, and understanding that your own well-being is like probably more important than like whatever your role is for the team, sort of thing. And they know like if you're all good and refreshed and like keen to get stuck in and stuff like that, then it's only going to benefit whoever you're working with.
Yeah, for sure.
It's quite a demanding job, especially like just the summer sport. So it's 6 months, but it's 7 days a week.
Yeah.
It might not be 10 hours a day, but it's every day still. You're just doing, there's always something to be done. I never felt on top of work like all season. There was always the next report or the next piece of scouting or whatever. So you've got to look after yourself. Like, it's great that Steve is the GM for the Bolts, and he's doing wellbeing checks all the time, catching up each week. How are you going? Are you on top of your work? Is it too much? So we've got a really good support staff. I can go chat to the S&C, or I can go chat to the physio.
Cool.
Yeah, I've got support around me. I'm not just by myself.
That's team environment, eh?
That's really lucky that we've had a good team environment this year.
Awesome. No, cool. Yeah, I think that's the thing as well coming through the Polytech is you kind of just start off dabbling. Like, you don't really, well, this was me, you're just kind of coding games and you're learning, but actually getting into that team environment, working with players and coaches and creating relationships and a culture around yourself is really cool, and I've really enjoyed that, especially this year, just growing on what I had last year, and just being actually appreciated, I think, is a big thing, and it makes you feel satisfied with what you're doing, and it makes you enjoy it more as being appreciated and understood. I think that's probably been a big thing for me. And to just take a step back sometimes and actually be like, well, I actually enjoy doing this and this is fun. Because I think it can be easy to get wrapped up in the whole, I've got to do that and that and that, and I haven't done this.
Yeah, it can easily get like that.
Sometimes it's like, it's quite hard to feel trusted and things like that. I know, like, when I started, I was in lots of different environments, sometimes for like a really short period of time, or it might have only been a day at a time, or like once a week or something like that. So they're not players and coaches, and they aren't seeing you like all the time and things like that. So it's quite hard to develop a relationship. But if you have an opportunity where you can spend lots of time with people all the time, then it's so much easier, and they trust you, they get to know you and things like that, and it's much more enjoyable.
What are talking about enjoyment, what are some moments of success? I suppose those kind of moments where you've looked at something and been like, awesome, I did that, and kind of throughout your experience.
Probably the best thing about being an analyst is when you find that gold nugget, if you want to call it that, and you give it to a player and they go do it in the game and it comes off, and that's like the most rewarding thing, I think, is when you find something.
Do you have an example of when that's happened for you?
Not off the top of my head, but there was a few this season, probably. More so for the bowling group, because the bowling group probably used me more so than the batting group, just around scouting opposition batsmen, how we're going to get them out. So it was we probably had some plan that we came up with based on my scouting, and it came off.
Cool.
So that's those kind of things. And I'm sitting up here watching it live, coding it, going, yes, that's real cool.
Awesome.
That's probably the best part of the job, is when that happens. And then they just come and see you after and go, thanks. Yeah. That was awesome.
Yeah, it worked.
It worked, especially when you get a big crowd out here for a T20 or whatever. And, it's a great atmosphere. That's pretty cool.
Cool.
Yeah. I'd probably say something similar, like being able to, you kind of know what's gone on behind the scenes and things like that, and if you're able to see it come off like during the game and things like that, then that's a pretty good feeling as well. And then I guess like one of our benefits is like we can, if we're watching live, like we see every delivery and things like that, and you can, if you know like you're almost getting a batter out and things like that, and you're like, oh, maybe we need to do this or we need to try this. But if I'm at home doing it, like I'm not with the team and things like that, it can get a little bit frustrating. You're like, oh, come on guys, like come on. And then when you see it happen, it's like, that's real cool.
No, that is cool. The opposite of, I suppose, those are kind of the drivers, those wee moments of success are like, yes, like, I want to do that again. What have been some challenges throughout your time doing performance analysis? If there is any, there might not be any, but I'm sure there is.
It's tough.
Challenges is probably, I don't know, like the long hours potentially. You're working Friday nights, Saturday nights. You could be working because there's a game on Sunday. You lose a bit of your social life. Sometimes, like if you're doing in your position, you might be only volunteering, doing lots of hours. There's so many internships that are not paid, and that's pretty tough. I think when you're starting out, and it's like pretty unmotivating if you're getting it to do like all these hours and you're not getting much out of it other than obviously the skills you're learning. But yeah, you'd like to get paid as well, obviously, for your time. Any other challenges? Data extraction is probably another big thing that we struggle with in cricket. That was probably my main challenge this season. Was we have so much data that we collect in cricket, and it just sits in this big database, but actually being able to pull it out. Like the coach often comes with a question, and I go, yeah, I could probably get that, but it's going to take me a week, or like I can't get that for you right now. That's probably been my biggest challenge. So something that we're probably looking at trying to get better at over the next few seasons, I guess, is how we extract data better and more efficiently. Then obviously how we present it as well.
Yeah. I'd say the biggest one for me would be like the time difference. So if we've got teams away on tour and things like that, and I'm back in New Zealand, then they're probably going to be playing in like the middle of the night or small hours in the morning and things like that. So just being able to manage a timeline to get the work done that they need, but also keep a normal life as well. So I'm not having to work through the night.
You're not coding at 3 a.m.
Yeah, that's probably the biggest challenge that I think I have to deal with.
Yeah, no, I can imagine. I think you also said when I spoke to you at the start of the year was not being able to find some things, like if the coach asks you, it can be kind of challenging asking from you and you can't find them, and just having to be...
Well, that comes back to the data extraction thing, is you often get a question that's obviously quite a lot more than just the base stat that you can find pretty comfortably. So often it takes either too much time or I don't know how to get it. And that's pretty frustrating. When it should be, like, it's a pretty simple question, like X, Y, Z, but actually I can't find that.
Yeah, and how do you explain to a coach?
You just say, sorry, I can't get that for you. It's like, that's pretty annoying. That kind of sucks. You just have to say that to a coach when it seems like a pretty straightforward thing that you should be able to find out.
Would you explain why, or do you just simply say...
Well, he knows the reason why now, obviously.
At the beginning?
But at the beginning it was like, nah, sorry, I can't. I'll try, but I probably won't be able to find that. But,
and I suppose throughout time they kind of understand as you go and as you...
Yeah, well, you get an understanding of what you can actually find, what's actually achievable. And to be fair, like, I'm at present the only analyst that I'm working with a domestic team, so that's the advantage at the moment. But that won't last for too much longer before every domestic team probably ends up having one in the next few years. So that's actually a good lead on point.
What do you see, how do you see performance analysis developing, I suppose, in the future now? If you go back to when you started, how's it changed, and has it changed much to now? And then how do you see it growing in the future?
I'd say it's changed heaps. Technology's pretty much like been the cause of like all that change. And then probably having like a different generation of players and coaches that are more exposed to this or more familiar with it earlier on in their career. So it just becomes like expected, or that's something that they've used the whole time, so they always want that. That's probably technology. I'd say that.
Going back to the point before with the older guys, in 5 or 6 years, all these guys using this stuff now who are 21, 22 are going to be the older guys, and that's just going to be normal. So that's probably the positive impact.
Yeah.
I suppose it's just going to develop more, isn't it? And it's just going to become something that
it's just normal.
is
It's going to be
normal,
like
yeah.
S&C,
Yeah.
physio, nutrition,
well used.
mental skills training. It's just the extra support stuff.
Probably making sure that while technology changes, that your skills also keep up or develop as well. So one of the things that I never had any like background in was like data science or management and those sorts of things. And that's like something that I have to work like pretty closely with now. So I kind of understand the big picture and like the big rocks and things like that, but actually being able to understand the like real nitty-gritty detail of something is quite challenging and things like that. So
yeah, I think I'm a bit the same. I didn't really have much knowledge towards technology in general, to be honest, and working even now, there's things that I learn in Staples just like, did you not know how to do that? I was like, no. But hey, learning every day.
Yeah.
Every day I learn something new.
Yeah.
Going forward, what are your plans?
Well, next season's coming up, so probably just looking at a season at the time at the moment. I haven't finished what I wanted to do with the vaults just yet, so there's still lots of learning to do there. And then, who knows, I might get to progress into a different field or a different sport. I'm keeping my options open at this point, but who knows.
Do you have a hope for performance now, the industry within itself?
Do I have a hope for
hope? What is...
Well, my hope is that we can create a pathway for analysts like getting into cricket, especially because there really isn't one, because I've had to fight my way in basically. But now that I'm here, hopefully, I'd love to get an intern this season.
Cool.
And from either Polytech or university, and then hopefully that will carry on, and that'll create a pathway for the next lot of analysts coming through. Makes it way easier than having to volunteer all those hours and meet the right people and be in the right place at the right time. This will hopefully create a pathway.
Awesome.
That's my plan anyway, before I leave.
Okay.
Yeah.
Probably just keep chipping away, to be honest. There's a fair bit of cricket coming up. I think the Black Caps have like a World Cup that they're going to be preparing for. That would be like the immediate short term, I think, and then get through the summer.
Get
and
through
then,
it.
We'll have a busy summer.
Ask me again this time next year. We'll see.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Do you have any, I suppose, hopes for the industry? I don't know if hope's a good word.
Well, it's just where it's going. I mean, I think there's more jobs being created. There's going to be, every team's going to want one. So that's a good thing. And then, doing this podcast, right, you're creating more awareness. People will see us and others doing the job, and it's pretty cool.
I guess like making sure that people don't know what they want to do, but they like sport or they like technology or science or something like that, that there is a pathway if it's in cricket or if it's in any sport, that those jobs exist. Because when I was studying, I don't think this job existed.
No.
And then when I finished, which was 3 years later, there was a whole industry in it. So making sure that people know that they can do this if they want to.
And even people that have struggled with injury. I think that I've met a few people actually, especially with concussion and injury throughout the season. They want to still be involved with their team, but they just don't know how. And I think this is a good opportunity to still be involved, with your sport and your team, if it's, at club level, just being part of it.
Yeah, that's a good point actually.
that was my story basically, isn't it? I got injured at high school and I didn't play that next year, and then wanted to still be involved, and this is the way to do it. I think it's a rare opportunity to work in high performance sport. You're pretty lucky if you get to do it. So
there's definitely still opportunities for athletes and things like that to contribute to the team or the environment and performance and things like that.
Definitely, and I think it's really important to connect and communicate in our group as well, and for analysts to communicate with each other and learn from each other, because I think it's so easy to be just doing your own thing.
Mm-hmm.
But, it's a community within itself. And that's what I want from this, is to, get to know everyone else's stories and experiences and create this kind of whānau, you could say.
Yeah.
And just be able to help each other out and just learn from each other, because I think that's probably something that's really important.
Yeah. Having a good network of other analysts is definitely useful. Like if you get asked a question and you don't know how to do it, or there's something that you want but you don't know how to get there or something like that, you can, somebody out there will know. So just being able to ask the right people, someone might know somebody who knows the answer that can help you out. So
I remember us actually talking about that, just communicating and getting yourself out there. Just
Networking's so powerful. If you can, like I got the New York Yankees analyst hit me up on LinkedIn over the summer, like just out of the blue. That's so random. But we got to chat, had a Zoom. They found Super Smash on ESPN and just wanted to learn about cricket.
Cool.
And I just sat there listening to this guy chat about baseball analysis, and it's like he's one of 15 analysts at the Yankees and his only job is on pitching. And like he was showing me all the modelling they do and all the data, and I was just like, what? Don't understand any of it. But it was pretty cool.
Yeah.
So if you want to go overseas, there's heaps of opportunities in analysis as well. Don't limit yourself just to New Zealand. There's actually a whole big world of analysis out there.
I guess that's a good hope for analysis, is that like I'm at the moment like the only analyst. You're the only analyst at the Vaults. The Yankees have 15, so maybe like get a couple more. Like if
more analysts would be great.
Like understand the value that analysis can bring, and if they can resource properly, or make sure they have enough resource to be able to deliver what they want, then that would be good.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's from the start. I suppose, the people understanding what's involved, and it's an industry of growth, so there's a lot of opportunity out there.
And like in my end of season review, the Vaults really said how they value the role, and like they want to have more hours and more money and all that. So that's really cool, and more of that needs to happen.
Definitely.
It won't be long, like I said before, that every team's got one in New Zealand.
Awesome. No, it's exciting going forward. I think we'll call it there. Thank you guys heaps for coming on.
No worries.
It's been really beneficial, I think, for me as well, talking to you guys, and I hope that we can keep in touch, and I look forward to hearing what happens for you in a year's time. No, thank you heaps. I really appreciate it.
No worries.
It's all good.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks for having us.
Kia ora. If you're hearing this message, you have watched the entire episode. For that, ngā mihi, thank you for listening to Analyst's Point of View. Also, ngā mihi to the guests. I appreciate your contribution to this episode. I hope you found value in watching this episode and listening to the guests' experiences within the performance analysis industry. If you did, please give it a like and share with others who you believe may be interested. This contribution will continue to help grow the understanding of what performance analysis is and what analysts do. Ngā mihi I tō tautoko I a au. Thanks for your support of me. Kia ora.